Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here to with our goals, pursuit, and personality little seminar thing. So we did this last year, and we did it kind of based off of habits. This year is going to be more based off of like what your personality is. So really excited. We had a lot of really good feedback last year, so we wanted to do it again because we want to help you guys set long, sustainable goals that you can do for forever that you enjoy doing. So I'm Tobias. I own the gym. I'll let Jay introduce himself, the legendary Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm a faculty member at Texas Tech University and director of our University Career Center. And so on a daily basis, we use assessments like the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, StrengthsFinder, the Strong Interest, other assessments to help students with career. But then also, having taught this for 20 years, it's an everyday part of our job. And so we wanted to share with you guys about how all of our different personalities even fit within the gym, and how you work out, how you show up to work out, and what motivates you to get better. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and hopefully you can all take something with you to learn a little bit more about why you do what you do.
Awesome. So before we start, we do have a bathroom over there, a bathroom over here. We have some coffee, so help yourself to coffee. There's more people showed up than I thought, so if we run out, I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, so help yourself to that. So again, overview pointed today is we want to find out what kind of person you are. So the kind of person I am is the kind of person who was supposed to post that personality test like weeks ago, and I posted it last night. So if you haven't taken it yet, I apologize, that's my fault. If you get a chance afterwards, take that test. I saw a lot of you guys were taking it now, but it's really cool, kind of enlightening on like what kind of person you are, but it's on 16personalities.com. And so we'll share that again afterwards, maybe, I say I will. But anyway, that's the kind of person that I am. But we want to kind of find out what kind of person we are and set goals based off how you can be successful. We want to focus on attainable goals, goals that you can do, and creating an environment that will set you up for success. So kind of a little example about like personality-based goals. For me, it's kind of a goal to be like more organized. But if I see like, so I look at my wife, she makes these like elaborate, amazing lists. She's got a calendar that's incredible, and I never know what's going on day to day. But I hate lists, and I hate calendars, and I hate writing things down, but I like technology. So I downloaded an app that's really fun for me to like keep my calendar, and that helps me. So that's kind of based on my personality, how I can be successful, rather than trying to like buy a calendar and do all the stuff that my wife does. I won't be successful that way, I'll just be frustrated. So that's kind of an example of what we're kind of getting into today. So what we want from you guys is to be a part. It's not going to be a lot of fun if me and Jay just talk the entire time. It'll be a lot more fun if you guys engage and you guys give your opinions and things that you're going through and goals that you like to set. So it'll be so much more fun. We'll get more out of it. And personally, I know I'm still working on a lot of these things, so I'm not perfect by any means. So I'm not up here like preaching at you guys. These are tools that like are going to be helpful for me moving forward. But I imagine as well as Jay, we all have things that we're working on. So this is just kind of a group thing. The more we talk to each other, the more it's going to help everybody. So anything you want to add to that?
I think that's spot on. I think that whenever you see your personality type, I've been going around asking, what's your type, what's your type? We're going to get into more of what that type means and how it's not concrete, but it fluctuates over time. And so we're going to talk about how you work within those preferences that you have, and how they can you can set goals based on those preferences.
Perfect. So first of all, what is a goal? It's a internal mental representation of a desired state, and that can be like an outcome or an event or a process that you want to accomplish. Goals are also dependent on a discrepancy. So what that would mean is like, man, I want to be better at exercising, I want to be healthier, but I drink 12 beers a night. So it's like these things are fighting against each other. So a lot of times we set goals to kind of like, okay, well, I should probably stop drinking, or maybe you're like, I should stop working out so I can drink better. But yeah, so you want to choose like, so typically that's how we set these goals. So yeah, that's going to be the definition of the goal for us.
Right. And so this stood out to me. I saw this over the holiday break, actually. Clifton Strengths is another assessment that we use. We talked about it last year with habits. But there was a post on LinkedIn not long ago. As you're starting to think about setting your goals for the year, remember your goals should be an expression of your strengths. And your personality can be a substitute for that too, because your strengths, your personality can go hand in hand. A reflection of what matters to you, not a punishment. I think this is very important. Goals aren't a means of negative discipline, okay? And I know that I've been that way. The way it manifests for me is when I compare myself to others. Where's Lauren? Did she leave? This morning she talked about, comparison is the thief of joy, and I was like, I get it, right? And whenever I compared myself to other people, like my sister, who was very intelligent and goal-oriented and successful, I wanted to be like her, right? And so I would punish myself because I wasn't like her, and I would try to be like her, and it just made me feel worse because I wasn't. The more I tried to be like her, the further away I got from her. Does that make sense? And I was setting my goals for the wrong reason because those were her goals. I was trying to be like her when I didn't really have any knowledge of myself and who I was. And I think to an extent, there's a lot of all of us who tried to be somebody we're not and tried to see, man, I want to be as strong as Tobias. I'm going to be like him. I'm going to work out like he does. Well, if that's not my strength or my personality type, I'm never going to achieve what he's achieved. I'm going to do it. I got to figure out what my way is to achieve that goal, right? And it could be completely different, but it all stems from the personality you have and your strengths, your preferences, okay? So I wanted to kind of put that out there. If you learn anything from today, goals are not punishments. Goals should be exciting. Goals should be uplifting and engaging.
Yeah, so whenever we met up and we were talking about that and he like said that, I was like, man, that's really eye-opening. And I think that's something I do really badly is I set goals based off like punishing myself. So I was like, I'm doing a dry January because I suck and I drink too much. And I'm like, man, what if I just did it more sustainably? And I already felt dry January. But so anyway, yeah, but like doing it more sustainably, like, okay, what if I only have like 2 beers, you know, instead of 12? You know, like smarter goals that are actually going to help me still become healthier, but they're still going to allow me to have fun. So do any of you guys have any examples of maybe a negative goal that you've done in the past for yourself?
I got one, like setting unrealistic goals of like weight loss. That's always been something for me, because that's what I'm trying now, but I'm trying to be more realistic about just being intentional about doing stuff.
Yeah.
And not going too far of like, you have to be this weight at this time, just being intentional about doing certain things every day.
Excellent example.
I got one. I did the same thing, not gonna drink, and what it turned me on to was sugar. 2 evils. So what did I do? I should just enjoy them moderately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think important things to remember in this statement here is give yourself a little grace. You don't have to be so hard on yourself and punish yourself. I drink too much, I gotta not drink. You know, if you go to that extreme, then all of a sudden, what happens when you get triggered? You go the opposite way and you drink a whole lot more because that failed, right? Because you went so dramatically one way. So sometimes that, when you give yourself some grace, hey, you know, it's okay to mess up, but let's figure out a way to attain that goal in a way that works for me, right? And that's what we're going to get into next with personality types, because each type, everybody in here is going to do it a different way, and no one way is better than the other. It's individual.
Yeah. And I think too, just having that mindset is like goals should be fun and not a punishment. It's like, man, that's huge, because you want to do fun stuff, you don't want to do punishments. So like that shift in mindset can be massive. So talking about mindset here too, having a fixed mindset versus having a growth mindset is going to be really important as we set goals, and also like anything we do. And one thing we've already hit on a little bit is talented peers. So sometimes talented peers, like we can love our friends, but you might see, like again, I might see Bailey making all these lists and she's so organized, and I like miss my alarm and like I'm crazy, and I'm like, man, she's just born this way. It's her genetics. But instead, like, man, what can I learn from Bailey, or what can I learn from her to like get better? And it might be the same thing at exercise, especially exercise. We see this a lot when you're starting your fitness journey. You're like, well, I'm never going to get to where like Jake is or whatever, you know. It's all genetics, or he's been doing this, I can never get there. But really, it's like, what can I learn from him? What if I could see what he's doing and start to do some of those things? That growth mindset's really big instead of having that negative mindset. That's going to be really important as we like continue on in these goals. So I like this. I think this is really cool. So this is kind of how we learn. So it's like an acronym, AGES, A-G-E-S. So whenever we're learning, this is a really good way to learn. And this is almost how we teach in CrossFit. I didn't even really know it until I saw this. So the first one is attention. So like, let's say for example, we're teaching a snatch. There's gonna be a single focus. So I might say, I want you to jump. That's what you're gonna focus on, is jumping. After you have that single focus, now I'm gonna relate it to something that you've done in the past. So like when you were a kid, think about when you jumped as high as you could. So then you're like, oh, I've done that. And so you start to learn, you start putting these processes together. And then emotions. So after you do a rep, I'm probably gonna praise you like, that was great, really good. But the cool thing about this, and what you might not think is cool, is when you fail, negative emotions also start to help you like learn things and develop plasticity in the brain. So as you fail, even though it sucks to fail, you don't want to, it like triggers something in your brain to help you. So we want to have kind of a difficult task, and it's okay to fail. So we don't want to like avoid failure because it's actually going to help you start to learn even more. And then the last one that's really cool is spacing. So like if I had a brand new athlete do 30 snatches today, and I say nothing to them and they come back in 2 days and they do 30 more snatches, even if I said nothing, I guarantee you it's going to look 1,000 times better because that spacing is going to allow for our brain to start to develop these like neural pathways to be more successful in that lift. And this is going to be kind of the same in goals. So we want to do the similar process here. I just thought this was really cool because we kind of teach this way. But that's kind of how the brain works. So.
And with the hippocampus part, with the brain-based learning is a fun topic to teach because our brain is so fascinating. And when we look into how our brain works, the hippocampus is responsible for our long-term memories. And an example that has helped me with back squatting, okay? I don't know if you remember it was a year ago this winter. I was right there, I had 250 pounds on my back, and I got down to here, and something in my groin snapped, and I just fell down. Remember that? And it just, I had no control over it, I couldn't save it, I just fell, the weight fell down my back, it hurt. Anyway, it was like, all right, I'm done. Like, I can't work out anymore. Interestingly, last spring, I had a football strengths coach who was in my class. And I was asking him about this muscle in your groin and if I was going to die and if I was going to live or not. And he was like, you're going to be fine. And he said, show me how you squat. And so I got my feet right here and I showed him the squat. He goes, you're too narrow. He goes, widen it out and you're going to use these muscles. And he told me about my anatomy. And so this relates to my hippocampus because every time I set up for a squat today, I remember falling and hurting. And okay, get a step wider, and now I push my knees out, and then y'all's coaching and everybody, it's like everything adds together, and I haven't fallen since then, and I'm lifting more because of that memory. But a lot of times our long-term memory can also reflect back to our childhood. And Kelly and I were talking about this an hour ago, that sometimes we've been wired in a way to think we're a certain way based on these memories and experiences that we've had. And now you take this personality assessment and it might 100% align with those memories, or it might be different. And you're like, wait, I thought I knew who I was. What am I supposed to do now, right? If it's different. So these are all interesting questions that this hippocampus, this brain-based learning can really bring up a lot of new thoughts. So if you have questions about your assessment, I want to say before we even get into it, talk to somebody. Come talk to me, go talk to a therapist, go talk to a counselor, because this can bring up a lot of questions about who you are because of our hippocampus. Your brain is going to bring back memories and think about a lot of things, but we really want to just focus on the goal setting primarily for this year.
And then goal attainment. So this is kind of like what we had on a little bit earlier, is making sure we set goals that are going to be attainable. Sometimes if we set these massive goals that we are never going to get to, it's super easy to fall off. For example, if you've not been exercising, you're like, you know what, next month I'm going to run a marathon. That might be a little bit much. Maybe we set a goal that's like, I'm going to run a mile or a 5K, or I'm going to jog a 400. Something that's more attainable is going to be better. We want to find that right amount of challenging to where it's not just going to discourage you, but it's not so easy that you can do it in one day. You know, it does take that work. So we want to find those attainable goals. That also comes back to your personality based off like what kind of person you are. And so we'll hit on that a little bit more as well.
So the history of the Myers-Briggs type indicator started back by Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. It's not Jung, it's kind of funny to say Jung. And two sisters, Catherine and Isabel Briggs, really took the research to a new level in the 1940s. post-World War II by using this personality preference indicator to help people in job searches, how to find a job based on personality, right? Because as we all know, there are some jobs that fit certain personalities and some jobs that are not as good of a fit for certain personalities. And so they did a really good job with making personality correlated with all of these different decision making when it comes to your choice in education, when it comes to your choice in gym, when it comes to your choice in career, all of these things, it relates back to your personality type. At least it plays a variable in that decision making, okay? So that's a very brief of where the assessment has come from. If you want to talk statistics, over the past 80 years, this assessment has been validated and it's a reliable assessment at a 0.8, really. We've been internally testing this in our career center. We have a grad student intern for us, and we've had her take it 10 times since August, and 70% of the time she's the same type. 30% of the time she's a J instead of a P. But over time, over the past 8 months, she's been the same as far as her type. I took this first time in 2003, and I've been an ENFP 100% of the time, and I do this every semester with my students in my class. And so it's reliable and it's valid, meaning it's measuring what it's supposed to measure in regard to your personality type. But it's not concrete. Just because you're an E doesn't mean you're always an E every day, every second of that day. Sometimes my E, my extrovertedness, yesterday I did a 2-hour training. I had 4 meetings, a student appointment, and a birthday party. And I was E'd out. And last night, I turned the TV off, I put my AirPods in, and I said, I need an hour of just introvertedness. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to listen to anybody. Like, I just need a moment of I time. So keep that in mind. These are not 100% one way or the other. They flex, okay? And so the 16 personalities from 16personalities.com, that's a free website you can take. You're going to get emails now from them probably. You can delete them if you want, or you can read them. Some of them are pretty good with some good tips and advice. But the 16 personalities, the 2 top are EI. You're either an extrovert or an introvert. How many extroverts are in the room? A lot of extroverts. How many introverts? About half and half, actually. That's pretty cool. So extroverts, a real easy example, if you're an extrovert, when I lose my coffee in the office, and I can't find it, what do? I ask hey, have you seen my coffee? Hey, Ashley, have you seen my coffee? Do you? And I'm gonna go talk it out with everybody. Do you know where I put my coffee? What does an I do? Just go get another one, or just go look for them. Like, you're not gonna ask everybody, hey, where's my coffee? Right? So the way you focus your outward energy, I'm gonna talk about my problems. I'm gonna talk about my lifts. I'm gonna talk it through, and accountability-wise, typically I'm going to rely on other people to help with goals and team attainment. Now, I's are going to think it through. I's are typically going to prefer, instead of talking it out first, they're going to think it out first. They're going to think of the plan, they're going to think it through, and then they're going to make the plan of attack. The animals that you see, I mean, this is where Myers-Briggs gets kind of funny, because if you want to know your Disney princess, Myers-Briggs has broken all of the types down to all the different Disney princesses. You can figure out what kind of ice cream you are. You can figure out which candy bar you are. I mean, it's ridiculous how many different personality types. But when you look at your candy bar, you'll be like, that's me, right? And so it's kind of cool how all these different comparisons to the different personality types is just one picture I found. So don't just think you're a dolphin if you're an ENFP. Don't label yourself as a dolphin for the rest of your life. Real quick, the intuition and the sensing. How many N's are here if you're an intuitive? Okay, intuits. I'm an intuit. Typically, we're the types of people who have a sixth sense. We have that gut feeling that I think I know what's going to happen. I feel it in my gut. I don't have any evidence. I don't have any facts. I just think this is how it's going to go. And Tobias and I were talking about this when we were meeting, and he asked me the question, how accurate is that? And it's accurate. Those of you who are intuitive, there are statistics show that your gut feeling has an 85% success rate based on your experiences. And so there are a lot of psychologists and counselors. John Gottman is a marriage family therapist, and he can spend 10 minutes with a couple and with about 90% accuracy can predict their divorce in 10 years. And it's crazy, but it's a lot of intuition and it's a lot of fact finding and data. But their intuition piece can be very accurate. Now, sensing people are going to be based on facts. I need to see it, smell it, touch it, feel it, and I need to see the facts before I believe it or before I act on it. So intuitives and sensing can be opposites in that sense, where intuitives see the big picture, sensing people need to see the facts in order to make a decision. How many feeling people are there? If you're a feeler, other people are probably going to be of concern or a part of your decision-making process. When it comes to your feelings and how other people are going to feel or perceive your feelings, it's going to be that way with feelers. How many thinkers are there? Okay, so thinkers are going to be more rational with, not necessarily, it's not that you're cold. If you're not a feeler, it doesn't mean you don't care about people, but you're going to think things through a little more cerebrally when it comes to your thoughts. And then finally, the most fun one that gets talked about usually with people are the J and the P. How many J's are there in here? Okay. J's, those of you who raised your hands, how organized are you in terms of your daily routine, in terms of your desk, in terms of your calendar, in terms of your lifestyle? If you have a plan, right? How many of you are P's? Do you guys have a plan? Me neither. Like, my wife is the same way. My wife's a J extreme. She's very clearly J. I'm very clearly P. And she will start packing 4 days in advance. Actually, she's packed a month in advance. We're taking a trip in March, and she's already started. And I'm like, I'm not even thinking about that right now. Because J's are going to judge. And sometimes J's, when they see the word judging, will misinterpret that they're judgmental. That's not what it means. It's you judge each, the way you organize your day. It's a judgment call. Okay, it's not that you're judging other people. It's you're judging your time. Versus a P, who is going to be more adaptable and more go with the flow, take it as it comes when it comes to plans and decision making. So how many of you would P, and Kelly and I have talked, Michael and I have talked, Tobias and I have talked, we're all P's. And I said, how do you feel about setting goals? We're doing this goal setting seminar. And what did all of us say? We don't set goals. Here we are teaching goals. I don't set goals because my personality, is the type that I attain things as they come. I want to be available to do good work and to work hard. But if I try to be like my wife, or if I try to be a J and plan it, that's when I fail. I don't ever follow through with it. But because that gives me anxiety. That gives me stress to have to stick to that goal, because my personality type is I'm going to take it as it comes, and if something I think is more important comes up, I'm going to do that more important thing. But I value the gym. I value the fitness and the mental capacity for this. So I build it into every morning. And for a P, for me, it's the people, and it's why I don't look at the workout the night before. I just want to show up and do whatever's there, right? Casey, you're agreeing with me. It's kind of more fun. How many of you look at the workout every night religiously? If you're a J, you've got a plan for it, right? Yeah. And it's like, no, and I'm like, you're going to do it anyway. Like, just show up, right? It's the two different personalities. Okay.
I'm a P as well, and I'm also a coach. And a lot of time I don't look at the workouts anymore. And so people are like, hey, what are we doing the workouts? I was like, I haven't looked at it today. Like, aren't you programming? Like, no, I don't do that. But I just think it's funny. A lot of times, like, I should look at the workouts before, because I'll come in here and they'll be like having questions. I'm like, oh, I'll look at it tonight when I get here when I'm about to work out. But anyway, I don't care. I'm so happy to just get here and do it. So.
Yeah, exactly. So some examples, we're going to spend a little bit of time on these. This is where I would really prefer if you asked questions about these. If you have any, this is a good time for this part of it. We're almost done. But when you look at the different introversion, extroversion, and how you draw your energy, extroverted people are going to be very expressive. They're going to be very talkative. I love the Mindy Manny dichotomy in the mornings at 5 a.m. Manny, good morning. How are you doing? Don't talk to me. Right? Yes, I'm poking fun, but it's kind of fun, right? Get the extroverted, introverted personality types, and it takes all types. No one is valued more than the other. It's just the way we are. And so I know I told Tobias I come to the workout because of the people extrovertedly. I get to talk to people and see people. I bought a barbell from him during the pandemic because my goal was to work out in the garage at home. 0 times I've worked out in the garage at home, and my barbell is still on the wall where it's been since I bought it. I'm like, why did I buy it? You know, but you live and you learn. It was a good thought, but I'm still going to come work out with people instead of just do it by myself.
I have a question.
Carl.
Okay, so with that mentality, because I have a friend that's like that, how did you get to that point that you're making yourself come here?
Right. Habit from last year. I'll be honest with you, I thought 6 a.m. people were crazy. Because I was always at 5:30 p.m. at my previous gym. And there were 6 a.m.ers, and I was like, y'all are nuts. Why would you get up so early? And I started having to do 6 a.m. And then when I came here, there was a 5 a.m. and I was like, and then I started doing it. I didn't know who I was for about a month because I was so tired. But then it just kind of became a habit. And then it was the people. It was the coaching, it was the others, and it was each of the people in the gym that made it. And now when I miss, like Wednesday when I slept through, I was mad all day. Drugged up, medicine. And I slept through it and I was like, dang it. And the whole day I was like, I missed it. And so you get into a habit with it. But for me, it's the people more so than the workout or the, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas introverted people might be energized by the thought of the workout, prefer doing things alone, on their own, taking time to reflect on those thoughts, and may appear very social but need time to re-energize alone, and that's okay. That's something that introverts need instead of being always on with others. Now the intuition sensing, again, the ends, take it as a bigger picture, not into the details and the nitty gritty. We see that, things are going to be good if I do this for a year. I think, does anybody have any good example of their own intuition, of what that means to them? Because intuition can be foggy. When I say sixth sense, it sounds like it's a superhero trait or something. It's not real. But those of you who are intuitive,
Well, I don't know if this makes sense, but so if my parents both died in their 50s, and so that's been not that. I think that's my path. So I want to think ahead. How am I going to live past 50? Is that what you're asking?
and you're an in, right?
Yeah.
You looked at your report earlier, so
Yeah.
you have this intuition that if you keep working out and you eat healthy and you
Yeah.
avoid sugar, yeah, I think that's part of it, is seeing that longer term goal versus the sensing facts, right? But the facts are a part of it, but your intuition is telling you otherwise.
Right.
So intuition, really think of your own examples of the bigger picture can be important. Future oriented is a part of that. Did you see at the bottom here? the what about the future, whereas the sensing people are present oriented. How am I going to do this today? Not thinking long term. So that could be another difference in the intuitive thinking versus sensing thinking.
Okay. I might have an example. Are you intuitive, Tobias?
I forgot. I need to go look at my thing.
No, you were an S.
I think I've been sensing.
He's a sensor.
Well, sometimes there have been times like throughout my management or my job career at Lululemon where he meets some of the people that I manage, and sometimes he'll say something like, I have a feeling like this person may have these sort of problems in the future, they may have time integrity problems, or he's just said tiny little things about people that I'm like,
I was sensing it.
yes. Oh, no. I'm like, you just talked to that person. How do you know? I know him. I've known him way longer than you have. And so that to me has always just been interesting. And it's been right, probably 75% of the time.
Right, and that the way you take in the information with the sensing is he sees the facts in front of him, maybe.
Yeah.
Right, and then can make a prediction.
Mm-hmm.
And so that could be a part of the sensing. And so the intuitive piece, though, and that's a tough one. Here's some more information from another report I have. Sensing people prefer to take information through the 5 senses and focus on the here and now. Intuition prefer to take in information from patterns and the bigger picture and focus on the future. I feel like I'm very much a pattern, futuristic thought person versus the now. What am I going to do the rest of today? I have no idea. But I have an intuition that we're going to watch football, grill some steaks, do something fun tonight. Just kind of, and then long term, who knows?
Shay, the discipline into it, I'm also intuitive. So stylistically, my type of workout that I like has a lot of variety. And so it's almost like I see the big picture of the variety working on multiple parts of my body. And I get very easily bored with one style of workout. And so I mix up with running, yoga, CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pay attention so much to all the minor details of rehabbing a shoulder and working right on my shoulder.
Right. Yeah, I think that's very much into it. And what is the bigger picture of that in the long run?
Just overall health and functioning.
Yeah. So I think that's the key. In that and the S are some of the two hardest to define and understand. Really, is I get a lot of questions about the N and S from students, and as an N myself, it's hard for me because I'm like, I don't see the details. I like the bigger picture of a year from now. What do I want my body to look like, or what do I want my brain to think like? And that's what I'm thinking about. How do I get there? I don't think about the details necessarily, but if I see a training or a seminar, I sign up for it. I'm yeah, that'll be fun. I'll go to that.
I think mine was really close. I think mine was 45% one way and 55% the other way. So I think it was really close. Was anybody else close on this one?
Yeah, mine was too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. These are sliding scales. Some of them are very clear. You're going to be clear, very clear, moderate, to very clear, or clear, very clear. So on a sliding scale, if you're right in the middle, if you took the test 10 times over a year, you could be on either side of that middle at a 3 degrees of separation there. Kelly?
Would you say that with your experience, that life experiences impact? I know for myself, that's where when I compare both sides, because of the experiences we've had with helping our children, there are certain areas where I'm much more intuitive.
For sure.
So I'm just curious if that's what you see.
Yes, we see a lot of data on life impacts can definitely impact a report, an assessment like this, where you may have been very extroverted at one point, and then you become very introverted, or you become very sensing versus intuitive because of that life event, and that can affect the results. The other thing that we see over time, and this is a 35-year study, is that if you're extreme E, I'm very clear E, but in 35 years or after 35 years, I'm supposed to go more towards the middle. My E, my extrovert, will drift towards the middle. My P will drift more towards the middle. If you're a J, everything is going to drift more towards the middle as you get older. And I'm not talking 5 years on, again, 35 year. And I think with age, I see that in my parents. My dad used to be an extreme extrovert. He was a part of everything in the town and the community. Now he's okay with just staying home and watching TV. He's very comfortable being alone. He's very comfortable being introverted. And I see him that way now. And he's very happy. And so I get it.
Is it normal for people to have like I had a hard time answering some of the questions because I feel like the way I act at the gym and the way I act in like our friend group is slightly different. Like I'm very extroverted here because I have to be, and I want to be friends with everybody. But then like if I get the chance to go home and Baby's like, "You want to go out and do something?" I'm like, "Do not talk to me." So I had a hard time with these because I'm like, I think I like being by myself more.
Sure.
But then everyone's like, "You're an introvert," and I'm like, "But I think I'm good in a social situation."
Sure.
Did anyone else feel like they struggle with that, or is that normal?
Totally normal.
I was gonna say, I think I'm similar to Tobias, like in my profession, I cannot be an introvert. I always have to be on, but as soon as we get home, I'm done.
Yeah.
So, I think with life experience, it also kind of shifts, like you were saying earlier, it shifts, because in my younger years, I was an introvert 100%, and now I'm more of a balance.
Yeah. And that's that over time, we begin to learn and mimic ways we have to be in certain environments. And that's what's so cool about this being a preference indicator, the personality indicator. These are preferences, okay? So if you, as a CEO, you're gonna prefer to be introverted a lot of the time when it's your choice. When you get your own decision at your druthers, you're gonna prefer whatever it is you choose. But you know that as a CEO, you have to present, and you're gonna have to be in front of crowds, and you're gonna have to shake hands and kiss babies. So you got to turn that on, right? And you're going to prefer to do that because you want your job, you believe in the Ronald McDonald House. And so that's a preference too. So yes, those scales, depending on home, depending on where you are, that's why there's a very clear middle. And it's a sliding scale. Again, 70% of the time you're going to want to be this way if you had your own choice, but it's okay to be this way because of a job or because of a circumstance. Does that make sense? So don't pigeonhole yourself as just an introvert. It's not that way. Carla?
Do you think it's harder for introverts to turn themselves on versus extroverts turning themselves off? Do you think one has a harder time?
I don't know about harder time, but I've read some studies about how introverts make the best presenters. Which you would think, an extrovert's going to be a good presenter, right? Not necessarily. If you look at like TED Talk type speakers and like national famous motivational speakers, the majority of them are introverts. But what they do is they spend so much time thinking and in thought about their topic and learning and becoming experts, thought leaders on that topic. And then when they present in front of millions, it's not that they're presenting in front of millions, it's the fact that they get to share their knowledge. And so they become these very interesting presenters because of their knowledge, not because of the extroverted people they're talking to. So introverts can be perceived as extroverts. When I'm an introvert, everybody asks me what's wrong. Are you okay? What's wrong? I'm like, I just don't want to talk right now. Like, are you in a bad mood? This is my office, my students. So I think maybe it is harder. Extroverts who are always up and talkative, when they're not talking, people think something's wrong. But then all of a sudden you get an introvert who presents, they're like, wow, where'd that come from? It's kind of cool to see an introvert open up.
Yeah. I have a lot of things to say. One about the introvert thing. So I'm like very much an introvert. And for me, almost nothing leaves my mouth that hasn't already like been a conversation in my head. So a lot of times I have nothing to say because I don't feel super comfortable in very like conversations. If that makes sense.
Yes.
And I think that comes to the presentation part of it as well, because like in my job, I have so many conversations a day with so many people, and they almost seem like they're in slow motion in my head, right? And I don't know if other people perceive that, like almost a slow interaction. Obviously a lot of pauses, because something is going through my head at that time. But I think that is something that a lot of people don't maybe understand about introverts, that we exist so much in our head. And that can be a real strength in a lot of ways, but it can also make us seem closed off or shut off or not approachable.
So to have that positive outcome with that, what works best? When somebody knows about your introvertedness and they know you're going to be methodical in your responses?
Yeah, I think so. When I was growing up, my parents, like this was before introvert and extrovert was really a thing. And so they thought I was very shy. And so they were always trying to like push me out of my shyness to do things. And then I took a test when I was 19 that said like you are as far on the introvert side of the scale as you can be, and recommended a book that we all read, and it totally changed like my understanding of myself and my confidence in myself and my parents' understanding of me, and everything has been different since we had that understanding of like shy is not the same as introvert, and you can feel them in different ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if someone knows
Yes.
that's my personality, that definitely helps and makes me feel a lot more comfortable with our interactions.
Right.
So if you're in the gym, how that would play out, if Tobias came with his camera and asked me like a question randomly, I would probably give like a deer that headlight look, like, I need to process my answer before I can say it.
I love hearing everyone's responses.
Yes,
I'm like,
I love
I would
to hear
have.
So yeah.
That's a lesson I learned. The first one
I
I didn't tell anybody. And after that, I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna ask this question. Think about it for a second. So I'm trying to get better. Yeah. Okay, heads up for sure.
But then, to be honest, how many extroverts in the room are thinking, I hope he comes and talks to me, I hope he comes and talks to me. Right? I do. I'm like, man, I hope he interviews me.
I was gonna say, I think what's funny with Bailey, like even telling stories and presenting, like me and Bailey I get in fights with Bailey all the time because she'll tell a story and be like, I went to go get a Snickers, and she'd be like, so yesterday I woke up, the weather was this, and I'm like, are you even thinking about the listener's experience? Like, and it's like a 30-minute story for like, I got a Snickers bar, and then I'm like, just get to the point. And it's like she's talking for herself, not for the other. And then when I'm talking, I'm like, okay, this needs to have a point.
Right.
And so me and Bailey, I always get in fights. I'm like, you ruined the dinner party.
Right.
That's the beauty of,
Love it.
I think what Whitney's saying, what everybody's talking about here is this understanding of opposite. Is that we all bring something to the table, and everybody's got a type, everybody's got a preference. And for the majority of our 365 days a year, we're probably going to be in that preference. You know, every now and then, if I come in and I don't talk, right? People notice, or if Manny's all of a sudden coming in and talking to everybody, it's like people notice, or when we're not the way we typically are. But that's what balance is, and understanding that we all have a type. And I think it's really important to value those. And that's the key of this, is valuing all these different types, that it's okay to be introvert, it's okay to be extrovert, it's okay to be sensing, it's okay to be intuitive. The thinking and the feeling, yes. So as we begin to wrap this up, with the judging and perceiving again, this is the organized versus the non-organized. We need to start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
So, this is my P. If I was a J, I'd probably have a good ending to all of this, right, with Tobias, but we're like, yeah, we'll just finish how we I even had an activity and I forgot it, but that's my P. Do you have other specific questions about how personality goal setting come together with the way you make those cases?
ENFP here. So I found myself setting a bunch of like variable goals, and like sometimes I know that they're not going to be achieved. I just throw them out there. How do I make more concrete goals and follow through with them?
Excellent. I'm an ENFP. a good piece of advice. I've got some research here. Extroverts tend to stick through goals with accountability partners. So if you just think about your goal and you intuitively know that you're not going to attain it because you're not going to be held accountable to it, so why do it?
Right.
But if it's a drinking or an eating diet type goal, you know, get Callie and have a talk about it together each night. You know, like hold each other accountable instead of you just going and getting your own drink.
Right.
You know, say, hey, let's hold each other accountable to just one beer tonight instead of 10.
Okay.
Or let's eat this meal instead of that. And when you can combine yourself with others, I tend to stick with a goal. My diet sucks, but with Manny's spreadsheet, and I know that I think you're looking at it, at least I believe that. It holds me accountable to know that I have to be accountable to him when I type in my numbers. So join forces with somebody to attain the goal as an extrovert. Yeah. Any other questions about the goal attainment and a type? For P's, don't stress yourself out over a goal. Don't set goals. And I say that in jest because you can still be very successful and become who you want to become without the stress of a day planner and a calendar. Today I have to do this, and today I have, because that's not the personality of a P. We're not the type that will stick to that over time. We're going to float within it, right? And so if you want to get in shape, or if you want to eat better, or if you want to drink less, be adaptable to and create an environment where you can be successful in eating healthy. Don't go to McDonald's. Take the Cokes out of your refrigerator. Delete an app off your phone, right? To where you can attain that goal as a P, to where it's not even you don't have to plan it, it's just not there, right? Any other question? Yes?
So how would an INFJT set any goals?
INFJ?
Yeah.
So I usually focus on the I and the J, or the top and the bottom. So introvertedly thinking through, right? Do you have a plan of what goals you want to attain?
I mean, I kind of just like prepare for the worst and hope for the best kind of thing. Like I'm in the middle.
Okay.
Like I don't write anything in stone, if that's what you're asking.
Right. And so for an I, this might be for introverts, the process of goal setting is done in more of a reflective manner. So maybe create some quiet times each day where you reflect on your goals each day. With you time, journaling is also a good thing for introverts. Okay, and then for maybe a J, setting that plan, writing it in a calendar, putting a to-do list together, putting everyday set hourly goals, and then stick to them. If you agree with the J, if you're a strong J, very clear J.
I'm in the middle on like everything.
Okay, so then it's gonna probably, let's talk. Let's create a plan of what works for you. If you're straight down the middle, you could go either way in a lot of these. And so let's talk about what are your goals, what would be the easiest way to attain them. And are you punishing yourself, or are you doing it out of growth mindset?
Just rolling with it.
Okay, so we need to talk.
I think for me, goal setting gets really frustrating because when I do these personality tests, I'm a super strong J, and I feel like in my professional life, I always have to be super buttoned up. And whenever I plan things like vacations, I'm also super buttoned up. But then, like when the time actually comes, Tobias is like, "Where's your passport?" I'm like, "I don't care." He's like, "Where's the what transportation company?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I booked it, so it's fine." And so I feel like I almost like personally swing the other way, or maybe the P is where I like rest or like enjoy myself. And so goal setting has always been really hard because everybody looks at me as a J and I feel like I'm a J, but then when I'm like resting or maybe in my personal life, I feel like, yeah.
That's the preference. Prefer P when you've got everything done. And I've seen J's create room for P. That makes sense. You plan ahead and get everything done so you can be P.
Okay.
Uh,
So making, like,
Make
carving out
space.
space for it.
Carving out
and
space.
then-
Yeah. Okay. So I know there's. Oh.
I think for me, it's been a learning process in that goal setting. I've gone through different stages of where I've had a goal to perform and set these goals, and when I don't meet those, I like completely shut down and quit. And so, okay, learning that the way that I attempted to meet those goals didn't work. So, what can I do differently to achieve those goals? And so, between partnering with different people and figuring out those things, remembering that giving ourselves grace and allowing ourselves to attempt goals differently as we age and as we learn through those processes helps us meet those.
Love it. That was a great way to sum this up. Your hippocampus remembers, try new things, see what works, and go from there. And that's what life is. Trial and error in a lot of ways. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to approach it from a different point of view. But the quicker and the more experience you have with your personality, that's how you grow. So give yourself grace in that growth, but keep growing. Fair enough? All right. Did everybody learn something today?
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dave.